So, folks, what I'd like to talk to you about today is the single best bit of advice that you could get when you are submitting a planning application. So, I'm recording this sat at my desk on the 31st of December 2021. And the reality of the fact is that on the race up to Christmas, we had a variety of inquiries come into the business, and these inquiries were from people who were desperately frustrated. And the reason they were frustrated is because they were approaching their determination date as set by their local planning authority, and then at the last minute, what happens? They come back and they say to the client that they need a tree survey or a ecological survey. Now, I understand how frustrating that can be for you as a homeowner or an architect or a developer that is just looking to get your project moving. And the reason quite often that this stuff is left to the very last minute or what appears to be the very last minute is because all of the stakeholders that feed into the planning process are incredibly overworked, and I do have some sympathy for them. But for you as a client, that is obviously extremely frustrating when you're a couple of days from your decision date. And what happens? The local authority come back and they say that you need a tree survey or you need a ecological survey. Now, you're not going to like this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The cold, hard fact is that when it comes down to it, when the rubber hits the road, the information is out there. If you've done a pre-app, if you've gone for pre-application advice, then the local authority will have come back to you and said, look, we think you're going to need an ecological survey, or we think you're going to need a tree survey. You might need some archaeological support. You might need a highways consultant, etc., etc. So the single best bit advice that I could give you in relation to trees and planning applications is that if you're listening to this, hopefully, before you submit your planning application, if there are trees within 15 metres of your project, and by your project I mean the actual red line boundary of the site, then I would urge you to get a tree survey done early days. Now, essentially, the British Standard says that all trees on or adjacent to the red line boundary of the site need to be considered. And the reason that they need to be considered is that it's not just the foundations, it's not just the construction footprint, it's also how vehicles access and egress the site, it's where materials are going to be stored. All of these things have the potential to have a negative effect on trees. Therefore, what you need to do is, if you've got trees within 15 metres of your proposals, get that tree survey booked off early doors, and it means that your application will get validated and move forwards. And fingers crossed, moving into 2022, your decision date will be met and you will be good to go. So I hope you have a fantastic new year. I hope that was useful. So the single best piece of advice that I could give you heading into 2022 is, if you're thinking of building anything, anywhere, make sure you get all the surveys you need boxed off early. Don't wait and see if they get conditioned. It's highly unlikely. Get those surveys done early doors and you'll get that application validated and move closer to your planning consent. So hopefully that was helpful, and I will speak to you soon. Cheers now.